So apparently the Chicago Bulls like and prefer Lauri Markkanen more so than Wendell Carter Jr. Okay, so let's talk about this latest report and let's discuss. Before I do, if you are new to the channel, guys, welcome, and make sure to go ahead and subscribe if you have not done so already. I do talk a lot of Chicago Bulls basketball on this channel, and you are not going to want to miss out. We've got so much content coming up with the draft, free agency, trades, rumors, etc. And the season's right around the corner. So let's go ahead and get you guys ready by making sure you're subscribed and you're turned on the notifications by hitting the bell icon, and you're following me on all my social media platforms, my Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. So with that being said, let's talk about this report. So where is this report coming from? It's coming from Jonathan Givony of the Low Post. So Low Post is done by Zach Lowe of ESPN. So it's a very credible source. And he basically talked about, and I'm paraphrasing here, that the Bulls see Lauri Markkanen as more of a untouchable, untradeable, if you will. They like him a lot more than Wendell Carter Jr. Why is this coming up? Because obviously we're right around draft time, right? The draft is coming up. It's very close. And so we've got trade rumors, right? And if the Bulls are looking to trade some of their players, well, who would be up for trade? And this report is basically saying that if they were to trade somebody, more than likely it would be Wendell Carter Jr. over a Lauri Markkanen if you were to pick between those two. Now, nothing's confirming that the Bulls are trading either, but if that were to be the case, Lauri would be the preference and they would ship out Wendell. So I wanted to give my thoughts on this because I've been meaning to talk about this, and this just gives me a reason to, because the dichotomy of Lauri and Wendell has been interesting for me, all right? So in one hand, you've got Lauri Markkanen, who is going into his fourth year now. In his third year, regressed from where everybody, including myself, thought he was going to be a star, right? Averaged 19 points, 9 rebounds a game in his second year, and we thought he was going to take that easy leap to 20 and 10 and become a star. Well, that didn't happen, and I, like a lot of people believe, a lot of it had to do with the stunting of his growth by Jim Boylan, who basically made him a spot-up shooter. But again, we can't absolve Lauri of everything. Certainly, it is up to the player himself to make some sort of leap as well. And he just didn't do so, right? He just didn't do so. He regressed all the way down like 14 points, like 6, 7 rebounds a game. So that was not ideal. All right, Wendell Carter Jr., on the other hand, he did improve it a little bit, but kind of stayed to where we saw him his rookie season, right? 11 points, 10 rebounds, somewhere along those lines. So the thing is, when we talk about Lauri and Wendell, these are two guys who are versatile, have their own gifts, but there is a glaring difference, and I would say in a way weakness, with one of them that the other one doesn't have. You see, Wendell Carter Jr. is undersized. He's about 6'9", and the Bulls have been playing him at center, which is funny because Lauri's taller than him. I believe Lauri's 6'11", 7 feet, and we play Lauri at the 4. Nothing wrong with that, but Wendell Carter Jr. is undersized, and the Bulls have been horrendous against opposing centers because of the fact that Wendell Carter Jr. is undersized. And so the question begs, is he more of a natural 4 than he is a 5, right? And so have we been playing him out of place? I believe so. And that's obviously led to, I believe, the fact that maybe he hasn't been as productive. And certainly he has not been as healthy either. Both of these guys haven't stayed healthy. But Wendell Carter Jr. more so than Lauri Markkanen has been more injury prone and more hurt, if you will. So when I take a look at these two guys, Lauri's more talented. Lauri's taller, bigger. I think he's got more physical gifts. He's better offensively. Wendell Carter Jr. is better defensively, straight up, but he's undersized. So the pros and cons, when we take a look at them, there's more pros with Lauri Markkanen, and I believe there's a higher ceiling and more of a potential, right? When I take a look at Lauri Markkanen, I can see him turning into a Kristaps Porzingis, if you will, all right? Wendell Carter Jr. to me, I mean, again, we're talking about the ceiling. I kind of see like an Al Horford type. Now, again, Al Horford's a multi-year All-Star, and he was a pretty good player in his prime. But, again, it's still Al Horford, right? So I would take Lauri Markkanen over Wendell Carter Jr. Absolutely. But here is the one thing I do want to say. I believe we're using Wendell Carter Jr. wrong. Like I just mentioned, he's undersized and we're playing him at the 5. So could we take this year to keep both of them and kind of evaluate the fit? Because if that is the case, if we can't, slide Wendell over to the 4, or he plays better at the 4 and Lauri can play at the 5, great. Maybe they can both thrive. I just feel like we haven't had the opportunity to do that with Jim Boylan being the coach of the team. But now with Billy Donovan, I believe Billy Donovan is going to find a way to see, okay, do these two guys work? Because they can both shoot the basketball. I mean, Lauri's a better three-point shooter, but Wendell Carter Jr. has worked on his perimeter game as well. Look out for that, okay? He can definitely hit that mid-range shot, and I believe this offseason he has extended his range out to the three-point line, okay? So, take a season, see kind of if these guys fit or not, okay? And if they don't, go ahead and trade them, all right? Trade Wendell Carter Jr. because I agree, Lauri Markkanen's got a higher ceiling, higher potential. But at least try and see if they fit, because I just feel like there might be a chance there, and maybe you're not exploring it, folks. Because, again, it is hard to find bigs that can, shoot from the perimeter, become two-way players. And Wendell Carter Jr., even though, like I said, undersized and a little bit injury-prone, he's still a two-way center and pretty good defensively. All right, a good shot blocker. So, that's what I would do. That's really what I would do. I would take this year to evaluate. Now, again, if there is somebody out there willing to give you a very good trade offer, am I ready to move off Wendell? Yes, I am. But I just don't see that happening in this year's draft. I think the Bulls are going to try and see what's out there, but for the most part, I think they stand pat, because this is a wait-and-see year. This is a evaluate the entire roster year and then go ahead and make your moves, all right? So I don't think AK and ME, I call them with their initials, but Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley, I don't think they're going to rush anything. I think they're going to take their time to evaluate everything on the roster. And again, as far as trade-wise, I don't see it happening. The Bulls could trade down, but that might be to just get more picks, not to trade one of their core pieces. I think we all know the core right now going into the season consists of Coby White, in no particular order, Coby White, Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, and Wendell Carter Jr., and you want to see which of these 4 deserves to stay a part of the core and which one of these 4 does not. All right, so that's what this season's about. So basically, folks, just to put a bow on this, I agree with the front office that Lauri Markkanen, I prefer him over Wendell Carter Jr., but I do think you need to still evaluate Wendell Carter Jr. and see if these guys fit next to each other and see if you've been playing WCJ out of position, at least for this season, all right? Unless you get a ridiculous trade offer, and then at that point, ship them out of here, all right? So let me know what you guys think about that. Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree. As always, thanks for watching.